Welcome to the Menopause Queen, and in this particular episode I wanted to talk about how our care hormones come down and our people pleasing kind of has a bit of an alert and a wake-up call, and at the same time our anxiety and our confidence levels take a hit. Now, this is like a quadruple whammy that arrives during your menopause. It is a scientifically proven fact that there are parts of our brain and hormones we know about that disappear, that start to leave us very nicely with no invitation and no little card saying it was nice to be here. They just F off and take their suitcases and disappear. We stop caring as much as we used to, and we stop people pleasing as much as we used to. But ironically, it also comes at a time where we are filled with anxiety and lack of confidence. This comes with the menopause. It has this brain fog aspect. It has this weird lack of clarity. Like, you cannot be the person that you have always been. You've fully assumed that role for so many years, and then all of a sudden you go, I don't know how to be that person. I had this experience when I had a really serious skiing accident. And I was so used to being the active, dynamic, fully out there woman who was managing her home, managing her business, managing everything that was going on in her life. And all of a sudden, I found myself in the emergency unit of the hospital. And after about a week of being in hospital, I came home and I couldn't manage my own home. I couldn't pick up more than one bottle of water. I couldn't even take my washing out to the line because the wet washing was too heavy. I became a sort of former version of myself. And I remember sitting on the sofa crying, thinking, well, how on earth am I going to assume all of the roles, because they were multiple, that I had before the accident now? Maybe I'll get there in a few months' time, but a few months, how on earth am I going to do the interim period and be all those things? Little did I know that this was preparing me really well for the menopause, because as you come into your perimenopause phase, you have this incredible, oh my God moment where, yes, you're mourning some of the things that you have been, but you're actually starting to doubt that you can ever pick up the pieces of the woman that you were before, or the woman that you theoretically, supposedly still are. But you're not that person, and you are definitely becoming somebody else and transforming into something else, which is magical. It is truly magical, but oh my God, does it hit you like a side plank of, I don't know who I am anymore. Coupled with the brain fog that really does happen, and it is scientifically proven. We lose parts of our brain. You can watch the brain as it goes through menopause, a female brain, and there are kind of traffic light systems if you watch it, and it goes on and off and on and off, but mainly during the menopause, things start to switch off. And these are parts of our brain that have been fully functioning, parts of who our identity is and who we are up until that point. The good news is there are new parts of our brain that start to create, and we start to fit back together our brain, but it doesn't happen necessarily during the menopause. Now, I don't know what happens if you take HRT and if you have any artificial help, let's say. I went through it with none of that, and so I definitely suffered from the brain fog. But I also suffered hugely, and this has never happened to me in my life before. Yes, I've been nervous. Yes, I've wondered if I'm capable of doing something, but I have never suffered from a lack of confidence. The anxiety is another thing, and it can kind of be linked to the lack of confidence, but I have never suffered from a lack of confidence. And yet, during the perimenopause, during that heart of the menopause, I started to doubt my capacity to do anything. I have been a yoga teacher for now nearly 25 years, and at the time in my menopause I was well into my 20th year of teaching yoga. I was a known figure within the yoga world in France, still am. I'm a hugely qualified yoga teacher. Yes, there are some positions that I can't do anymore. Am I bothered? No. But I just started to doubt my capacity to be able to do that. I started to get frightened about putting myself out there, actually, putting myself into the field and teaching. But this is something that I'd done for years. I've taught hundreds of people in one go. I've been on the television as a yoga teacher. I've done all sorts of incredible things that I'm massively grateful for. But during my menopause, I really didn't think that I could do that anymore, and that I would have to literally give it all up and do something completely different. And actually, a girlfriend of mine at the time said, you can't do that because then there'll be no one to teach women like us. You have to stick it out. We don't want young flibbity-gibbets teaching us. We want people of our age who know what our bodies are going through. So I did stick it out. The long and short of it is. However, that lack of confidence then led to a huge amount of anxiety, and similarly never been very racked with anxiety. But I really started to be filled with this dread and the waking up in the middle of the night, fearing things that I'd never even considered as being slightly worrisome in the past, but I did. And as such, all of this led to a whole period of self-questioning, which I think is necessary anyway when you get into the menopause, because you're transforming into something incredible. You are becoming the best version of yourself, the most authentic version of yourself. Of course you are. Of course you are. You're becoming the queen of your life. It's just that when you're in the heart of it, you don't realize that. You don't think that that's what's going on. The only thing I could compare it to is, and this is not wanting to bring the atmosphere crashing down, but when my ex-partner took his life and I was left putting together the pieces of my life again, and literally that's what I was doing. I was putting together the parts of myself that had been destroyed by that relationship, and also the ones that I really wanted to put back in place, that I'd forgotten, that I'd lost. I remember going away with my girls to Mallorca, and we were shopping in Palma. And like I've just said, I never really had a problem with confidence. I did when I was much younger, but certainly not in my adult life. I love clothes, I love fashion, I've got a reasonable body. I have had for most of my adult life, but I've worked at that. That was a whole other issue in my childhood. And I love trying on clothes, and I got into these clothes shops, and not only was it way too much in terms of light and noise and people, but I just thought, well, no, because there's no point. There's no point in me wearing all these beautiful clothes because no one's going to look at them for a start. And I just, why? Why would I be doing it? But I didn't voice any of this. I didn't say any of this, right? But I sat on a chair. Like you do when you're waiting for people to try clothes on. Usually it's the blokes sitting out there going, oh, when is this over? So I'm sitting on one of these chairs. I happened to be wearing a kind of cardigan because it was a bit chilly. So I'm wearing this cardigan and I'm sitting on this thing and I'm slumped a little bit. I actually looked up my mother, which was hilarious. And my girls are trying on these clothes. They're super excited. They've got some spending money. They're like uber excited to put these incredible clothes on. And I catch sight of myself in the mirror. And I thought, oh my gosh, you've turned into some kind of sad beige bag lady. This can't happen. This can't do. This cannot be. But I didn't necessarily have the confidence to do anything about it. But I did tell my daughters. I did talk to them about it. Said, I've got no confidence, girls. Look at me. Look at me. So they made me go to Massimo Dutti, which is a shop I love and usually can't afford a thing in it, right? So we went to Massimo Dutti and there was a beautiful pair of trousers in there, black trousers. And I thought, you know what? I really like those. So my girls were like, go try them on, Mum, and try this on whilst you're doing it. Try this on whilst you're doing it. Because they were trying to boost my confidence back up and create the mum that they knew again, although it was a new version, a different version of mum. And it worked to a certain extent. Fake it till you make it, okay, that's as maybe. But it did help. Decorating the temple, making myself feel more confident and grounded in who I was, really did boost my morale and bring me up to thinking that I could do this. So flash forward to the menopause, I had a flashback to that moment several times, and I just thought, do you know what? No, I'm not going to become that bag lady sitting outside a changing room in Palma again. I am going to sort of assume this role. Even when I don't feel like it, I'm going to decorate this temple. I'm going to put the dress on. I'm going to put the colour on. I'm going to make sure that I'm made up, or not, if that's what I don't want to do. But I'm going to make sure that I'm proud to be sitting in the clothing or in the space or in the attitude that I choose to adopt that day. Because this brings me on to the last part of my video here, the caring hormones. I have quoted this lady before in the past, Just Being Melanie, who has a club called the We Do Not Care Anymore Club. And the care hormones definitely do disappear. It's the kind of I don't give a fuck kind of hormones. And you really don't. You start to do what is a massive triage of what is important in your life, what is necessary, what is unnecessary, what is creating too much hassle, eating up your energy and ruining your lovely vibe. Take it away. Just don't let it involve your life. Just don't let it in. Yeah, don't let any of your energy get wasted on things that are not important. And you really do start to not care about those things. And that side, and this is my point, starts to take over from the anxiety, lack of confidence and all that kind of thing. This is where the things start to rebuild in your brain, right? And so some new traffic lights start to go on where you go, actually, not only do I not care very much, I'm actually rediscovering or discovering the person that I've always wanted to be. And I'm going to be that person. And I'm going to feel everything that I need to feel. And I'm going to do what I feel like doing in that present moment. And I'm going to assume it. I'm going to assume that role. I think that, in a nutshell, is the beauty of the menopause. The fact that there is a down spiral here, but that there is a definite up spiral here. And that's, I suppose, the whole message of the Menopause Queen, is that there is a life after. It isn't just the fug during. It might feel like it. It might really feel like you have totally lost the effing plot, lost every single aspect of who you have ever been. But believe me, you haven't. You're not broken. You are simply becoming the best queen version of your life. I'm going to leave you with this. Clarissa Pinkola Estes is an incredible writer, and she wrote If Women Run with the Wolves. One of the stories in there that I quote very regularly is a story about the Selkies, and I'm not going to go into that now. I will recount this tale for you. Do not worry. But Clarissa Pinkola Estes writes at the beginning part of this story in chapter 9 of her book, if you care to read it. She writes about the fact that when she was younger, she didn't realize that there were 3 ages to a woman's life, or 4 seasons in a year. She thought there were millions and millions of phases and ages and seasons. The women's life bit, this is the bit that I want to focus on to finish on this. It's often put out there that we are the girl, the maiden, and then we go through the mother phase, and then we have the crone phase being the older woman. I am here to plant the seed that there is a huge phase in between mother and in between crone of the queendom. So welcome to this wonderful season of queen that has millions of micro seasons and little chapters and little colour nuances that are just wonderful. It will provide you with the most wonderful rainbow of life if you just open the door and embrace it. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. If you like these little snippets of 10 to 15 minutes, please share them. Please send them on to your friends who happen to be in the heart of this part of their life, because that is the aim of the Menopause Queen.